Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. Just letting you know we're going live with the beautiful Georgia Marrion, who is the prenatal nutritionist for the Ultimate Pregnant Core program. Georgia is here to talk to us today. I'm just going to slow down a bit. Hang on. We're just not connected. I can see I'm going a little bit static. It's my lovely Wi-Fi. Just wait till we come on. Good old Wi-Fi. Okay, I think it's all good. So Georgia's going to talk to us today about the importance of pregnancy nutrition. Georgia is a prenatal nutritionist and naturopath and specialises in women's health. So she's got a plethora of knowledge in this area, and she's put together in the program a wonderful plan, which is recipes, meal plans, and shopping lists. And it's very simple, but very nutrient dense and very easy for the ladies who are in the program to follow. So if you do have any pregnancy or postnatal questions about nutrition, please jump in and ask them, and we'll hopefully be able to cover them off. Or even if you've got questions after this live, if you haven't been able to watch it live, just post them down below and we'll hopefully be able to get back to you. So first of all, Georgia, let us know, why is nutrition important in pregnancy?
Yeah, I think there's three main points to touch on here. To support the optimal growth of your baby, to support the and maximise your own health during pregnancy, and then maximising your own health postpartum. You know, we're talking in the early weeks and early months, and then beyond that. So to flesh those out just a little bit, when we're talking about the optimal health of your baby that you're growing here, this will be significantly influenced by what you eat and what you drink. It doesn't take a nutrition degree that most women or anyone would know that suboptimal nutrition can have a significant impact on pregnancy outcomes. And there's lots of evidence coming out these days to do with how the health habits of our grandparents is passed down via genetics to us. And so what we're doing now, preparing for pregnancy and during pregnancy, will influence the health of future generations. So that's, to do with the health of your baby. Maximising your own health during pregnancy, just as what you eat and what you drink has an influence on your baby's health. Obviously, it has an impact on your health in general and pregnancy outcomes. So your general well-being, health and weight, gestational diabetes, to name a few. Pregnancy is such an amazing time. I mean, you're growing a person from scratch here. Your body knows what to do to grow that person, and a lot of it is out of your control. But there's plenty you can do that is within your control to a degree, and that's what you eat and how you move, right? So that's the second point. And then this then extends to maximising your own health postpartum in the early years and beyond. So they're the three main reasons, I think, broadly speaking, why nutrition is important during pregnancy.
Yeah, so you touched on, which is the miracle of growing a little human during pregnancy. So on that note, what are the key macronutrients to support this that women should be, trying to ingest while they're pregnant, which is often a challenge due to nausea and exhaustion?
Yeah, and I'd just like to preface any other questions that we have here to do with, we're not talking about being perfect here, and we know like to do with nutrition and also beyond that, postpartum. But just for the sake of answering the question, macronutrients that we've all heard of, which are not very sexy, but are so important. I think they are, but that's just me, right? So fats, your body needs fats, and the nutrients that are in fats, like your vitamin A and choline, increase during pregnancy, which isn't really a surprise when you consider that 60% of your baby's brain is made of fat, and you're forming that from scratch during pregnancy, and it's largely influenced by the type of fat that you're eating, which is really interesting. And you'll hear me touch on this through each of the macronutrients and food in general. Quantity is important,
but it's postpartum, doesn't it? So you're still nourishing your baby with
it goes through your breast milk. Yeah, definitely.
And breast milk made up of, half of that's fat as well. So you need that to actually produce your breast milk.
Especially in the early months. It changes composition as the baby gets older, but especially in the early months to help it grow. And when you're talking about fats and any of the macronutrients, quantity is important, but quality is really important. So the main point to do with fat is fats largely from unprocessed foods, so things like your meat and dairy, and are really important sources during pregnancy. And intake from fats from processed foods, should be limited, without having your perfectionist pants on. So protein, literally the building blocks of life. Every cell in your body needs protein to function and to build new cells, and you're growing billions of new cells with this little person, right? So it's like the raw material for growing a person, which makes you look at a piece of chicken a little bit differently, I think, when you look at it that way. So then, it's not surprising that your protein needs increase during pregnancy to grow all these cells and to grow this person. And just like with fat, quality and quantity are key. So both meat and vegetarian sources, depending on how you choose to eat. So red meat and fish and bone broths and your collagen and protein powders. There are vegetarian types out there. Eggs, cheese, yogurt.
The collagen's a bit of a rate. Yeah, and I know that I've found a lot, personally, a lot of ladies who've contacted me have found the collagen to be, particularly if the thought of cooking meat is just cannot cope.
It can be a good, because it's really that they mix in really well. It doesn't smell like
into soups and into smoothies.
So it's quite
some ladies even put it in their coffee.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. So, and also things like legumes and beans. So like with fat, variety and quality is key to do with protein, So you've covered your fats, you've covered your protein, and then there's on to the least popular macronutrient going around, which is your carbohydrates, right? Which is a whole other discussion.
The controversial carbs.
Oh my God, don't have a right? But
there's so much guilt. I mean, it's so funny. It used to be everything had to be fat-free, and there was this guilt around fat, and now there's the guilt around carbs. I just think, as you said, taking the perfectionist pants off. And I love how, for ladies who aren't in the program, Georgia really dives deep into your body wisdom. So tuning into almost like intuitive eating, which is so important. So, taking that programming out that one food is bad and that one's better. I know, personally, it's so programmed, was for myself being in the fitness industry. It's tough. Yeah,
well, this is the thing, right? And we'll touch on the body wisdom thing in a sec, but just to touch on carbohydrates, they occur in most of your plant foods, like your grains and your roots and that sort of thing, and fruits and vegetables, and obviously a lot of your fun foods like your processed foods. And it's the only macronutrient that has a significant effect on your blood sugar levels, which is relevant in terms of there's research always coming out to suggest that increasing in blood sugar levels, and not even significant increases, can lead to certain pregnancy outcomes. So, or suboptimal outcomes for pregnancy. So the main point is here, and this is to do with what research shows and what I see in clinic all the time. And obviously this comes with the caveat of everyone is different, but moderately low carbohydrate intake generally leads to better pregnancy outcomes, and it's better to be eating them from your low processed or less processed types of carbohydrates, nutrient dense ones. So you'll see the theme coming through all of them. You're largely whole food, nutrient dense kind of source of these things is kind of what you want to be trying to focus on. And also with carbohydrates, pairing them with your other macronutrients to minimize blood sugar fluctuations.
So, for example, having a piece of sourdough with some peanut butter on it or avocado on it or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's right. Or if you're having a potato salad, having a fat sort of base dressing in there, or having some protein in there, or a bit of both, that sort of thing. So,
because on that, we'll dive into that. I guess there is so much, first of all, you're dealing with nausea or exhaustion while you're pregnant, and then you've got this plethora of information that hits you from maybe previous programming that you've heard about good and bad foods. And on top of that, in pregnancy, you start thinking about listeria and salmonella and all those fears around food and what will happen to the baby. So I guess, how do you suggest women manage this sort of a lot of information and misinformation through resources and as we just touched on, the body wisdom thing?
Yeah, I think this is a challenge in the area of nutrition in general at the moment. What you talked about, so much information and so much misinformation going on out here. And obviously when you're pregnant, everything is heightened with wanting to do the best that you're able to do for yourself and for your baby, right? So, and totally valid. And I think it's a challenge because nutrition is a really fluid field. There's always information coming out, new research coming out, which is exciting, but it can be confusing because sometimes, you know, some research can then contradict other research. And also, and I think this is a particularly big problem, is that often the way that research is presented in media, general media and social media, is often misrepresented, or it's inaccurate, or just plain wrong. And obviously, you know, also we're all individuals, right? So what might work for one person that's out there promoting a particular way of eating or moving is not going to work, can work for them, but it's not going to work for everyone. That's not how nutrition works. So I think the two key points here in terms of wading through all of that is external and internal. So external, being careful where you get your information from. You know, is it evidence-based? Is it safe and appropriate? And is the person that's providing the information qualified to do so? And then internal, what we touched on before, to do with body wisdom. And I talk about this a lot in the program and also with my clinic patients. And I think it's especially important during pregnancy and when you become a mum. And this means, to me, what tuning into you, what your body needs at any given time, so it can work at the best level, not a perfect level, but the best level it's able to at any given time. We're talking physically, mentally, emotionally, and that'll change through all the different stages of your life, but particularly during pregnancy and postpartum. So we're talking about what foods you should, what foods work for you, how you move, your emotional balancing techniques, you know, supplements if you need them, medications, and general lifestyle tools. All of that combined that works best for you, and then what doesn't work for you, and sort of really constantly tuning into that. Because then it's easier to navigate all the information that comes your way. You might read something and go, that's really interesting, I wonder if that works for me, and you might try it and go, no, or you go, actually that really does work for me. And yeah, it's in tuning into that through the different stages of your life. Yeah,
it's so important. And I approach exercise in this way. So for the ladies who are currently in the Ultimate Pregnant Core program, a few of them have asked me, how many times should I be doing this a week? Should I be doing X amount, this amount? And it's a similar thing. It's like, tune into that instinct, that body wisdom, and one day you're going to wake up with more energy or less energy than the other. So don't feel like you have to be prescriptive, or just because this person is doing it 5 times a week, that may not work for you. And, you know, and if you're going to be exhausted, you're not going to get the results anyway. So, yeah, it is. It's really kind of, and as you say, I think it's so important during pregnancy, because that mother's instinct and that little bit more awareness of what's going on internally switches on, and you can really hone into that. And, you know, I think it's a little bit of a superpower. So, as you say, applying it to nutrition, to your movement, to life in general, it's just, you know, so important. And how to navigate, you know, through all that information and that lovely wisdom that people try to give you as well. Sometimes you just have to put the blinkers on and say, okay, I tried that, or, you know, or the information your body's giving you. I always say, you know, if you're doing something that doesn't feel right, listen to that feedback that your body's doing, because it may not be right for you, you know?
That's right. And, you know, a good analogy for the feedback your body gives you is, like, you know, I use a lot in clinic, is the analogy from a whisper to a shout, in terms of symptoms your body might be giving you. You know, you might start with really mild symptoms to do with something which is like your body whispering, which might be a little niggle here, a little niggle there. And the way the body works, depending on what it is you're talking about, if it's important enough to the body, it's like a toddler. It's going to get louder and louder and louder until it feels like you've listened. In terms of, you know, the analogy being your symptoms might get more frequent, or they might get more severe and what have you, and then you can end up with a really severe presentation of something. And we all do it to a degree. You know, but I think that's a good analogy in terms of this information. The earlier you're tuning in, without being obsessive about it, the earlier you're tuning into symptoms that are different for you or don't feel right to you, especially during pregnancy, I think the easier it is, or you might find it a little bit easier then to navigate all of what's coming externally, but also all these changes that are happening within you during pregnancy. Otherwise, you just become a basket case of nerves. It's, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong because there's all this information and what's all this changes going on. Oh my God.
And that carries over into motherhood as well. I mean, a simple analogy I use in exercise is, for example, a lot of women think, oh, the only exercise I can do is walking. Yeah, walking's great, But for some women, it doesn't. They end up with hip pain, lower back pain, and it's like, well, that's going to start as a niggle through your lower back, and trust me, your body will end up shouting, and you'll be in pain by third trimester. So let's find an alternative. So it's just, and as you say, it's going to carry you through that long runway of motherhood, because it just becomes even more noisy as you have a little person around as well.
This is true.
So just onto that, I think, and that fear, a lot of women do tend to skip some macronutrients or nutrition because of, I'm speaking from personal experience. I know when I was working, I'd get down to the food court and I'd walk around for ages and go, I can't eat anything. This is going to damage my baby. What do I eat? So how do you what strategies can some women do to overcome that kind of fear, or if they're eating out, or if they're just sort of not sure, for example, you go to a friend's house, and it's a beautiful meal for you, and you're just like, I think it's got cheese in it, I'm not too sure about that, or something.
Yeah, I think probably a couple of points here. So Listeria, we've all heard about it, but it's basically where food is contaminated by Listeria monocytogenes, and it's actually relatively uncommon, and it can be treated if it's started early, if the treatment is started early. So it's commonly found in things like your soil and your sewage and animals and raw meat and raw vegetables and some processed foods. So, the main cautions in terms of avoiding it is, avoiding any of your soft cheeses and your smoked seafood and your prepackaged fruits and vegetables, fruits and veggies that aren't washed, deli meats that aren't cooked, unpasteurized dairy, soft serve ice cream, and leftovers that have been refrigerated for more than a day. Obviously, this is when you're at home. Making sure you're cooking food properly, washing fruits and vegetables if they're raw, and placing all cooked food in the fridge within an hour of eating. And if you're reheating it to more than 75 degrees. Beyond that, I think the more organised and more prepared you are, probably just to have a bit of a backup plan, whether it's figuring out where it is you're going. I'm going to be out all day, I'm working all day, I'm not sure where I'm going in terms of what food's going to be available, so I might just take some stuff with me that I know I feel comfortable eating, that sort of thing. Snacks or a smoothie that you can take in a insulated bottle, or whatever it might be that's working for you with eating at the moment. I think that can help, because there's nothing worse than walking around, you're hungry and walking around a food court, and the options are quite limited when you're pregnant. So so that's probably the main thing I'd be thinking about, is really thinking about, okay, where am I going for the day? What food options do I have? What do I feel comfortable eating? And then sort of preparing for that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women, I find, there's this kind of fear, well, not fear, but I guess, again, it's back to that kind of programming thing. I'm eating so much during pregnancy. I feel like I'm eating all the time, but I don't think snacking is a bad thing. As you say, if it's kind of nutrient-dense food that's going to kind of help you, if you can't actually find a meal to suit you, a handful of nuts and something is really going to tide you over, and I guess stop those cravings. And so what are your thoughts on?
And it depends on where you're at, and we talk about this in the program a bit, in terms of some women it works for them during pregnancy or certain stages of their pregnancy to eat the 3 meals a day, and that really works well for them. Or it might work well for them in early stages but not in later stages of pregnancy, whereas some women might find having 1 or 2 sort of main meals a day and then snacking helps them. But back to what we were talking about before with the macronutrients, obviously quantity is important, but quality is the main consideration. So you just want to be trying to make sure that, for the most part, the type of food you're eating are the type of foods that are going to help you and your baby, without being obsessive about it. But, that's going to help you overall and help your baby. So.
Yeah, because I guess I come across this quite a bit. I guess when you walk around the supermarket, there is a bit of plethora of marketing, and it's like, oh, it's low carb, that must mean it's healthier, or it's, sugar-free. But I guess you kind of have to look, sugar-free doesn't necessarily mean it's, better for you, because it could be, I guess,
sugar-free and something that doesn't have sugar to start with is always amusing. So,
yes.
No gluten or something that wouldn't.
So what have I replaced it? I've added some chemicals in there. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a trap. I guess I like to say sugar-free doesn't necessarily mean risk-free. But I mean, as you say, you can't be a perfectionist, but I guess it's becoming aware of, just keep it simple. Yeah.
That's the thing. And the less, and the less processed your diet is, the less you're going to have to try and navigate that. You know, anything, the more processed food is, the more there's those gimmicky statements on there. You know, so I think, yeah, I think that's probably like you pick up an avocado and there's no gimmicky marketing statements on there. You don't have to worry about it saying, oh, low in sugar. Okay, well, it doesn't actually have
well,
it. Do you know, that's great.
But it doesn't have a sticker on it. Yeah, it is. It's quite ironic. So I guess finally, do you have any, we'll talk about, you know, setting up yourself for a good nutrition foundation in pregnancy and how that can continue through postpartum. And, you know, and maybe it is, you know, the snacking thing works for you, and when you become a busy mother, that style of eating might work for you. Or what other tips?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely your postpartum nutrition, kind of like the theme we've been talking about, is really important for postpartum. You know, birth, as you talk about a lot with, you know, with your clients, is physically, it's amazing, but it's physically full on. And then you've got your postpartum period, like your initial 6 weeks, when your body's doing its best to try and go back to some semblance of what it was before. You know, and then you've got, you know, you've got bleeding going on, you've got breast changes, your sleep's all over the shop, and you've got emotional fluctuations. And then, you know, adjusting to the daily and weekly routines of life with a little person, right? And that's just the first 6 weeks. And then you've got to consider the fourth trimester, which lasts for several months to several years. And that's where a lot of women, once they get through the initial phase, they have postpartum depletion, which is a whole other topic perhaps for another day. So there's a lot going on, and a lot of it's amazing, but it's still stress on your body. And so the way to look at it is good nutrition is a stress management tool to help your body cope with that stress and the physical effects that come along with chronic stress more effectively than if your nutrition is for, you know, most of the time not that great. You know, and also to consider is the fact that during pregnancy, the baby takes a lot of nutrients from the mother because it has to grow. And if your levels of nutrients, of certain nutrients, are low before you're going into pregnancy, and depending on how you've been able to eat during pregnancy, you can then be entering the postpartum period, you know, even lower than what you were beforehand, which will obviously affect how you handle all this stress that's going on, amazing stress, but still stress, and also can affect your level of health if you're wanting to conceive again within, you know, a year or two of having a first one. So I think probably like the theme we talk about during the program is not being perfectionist about it, but doing the best that you're able to, really tuning into what you're eating and how it's making you feel. And, you know, we talk about this probably towards the end of the program, is when you're heading into the couple of months, the last few months of pregnancy, is, you know, trying to prepare in terms of having meals in the freezer, or having snacks, or having a list on the fridge of stuff that you actually can make or like to eat, or however it is that works for you, you know.
Someone else, so many people want to help you, and it's kind of like, well, you know, can you make that for me? That'd be awesome. Because I know for a lot of women, I find, you know, that's where, you know, you just end up as a busy mum snacking on leftover Vegemite sandwiches. So you end up, for all the Aussies out there, so you end up, you know, skipping some of those major macronutrients, like you said, the healthy fats, your protein, and that protein is really important part as well for that tissue healing that's happened within your body, particularly through labour and stuff. Yeah, so as you say, it's kind of, and then maintaining those healthy hormones, you know, possibly for a next pregnancy or just for general well-being.
Yeah, for all of those reasons, yeah. And you might have days, there's going to be days, just like there is this motherhood, where it all goes well with how you're eating, and, you know, you feel like you've sort of, you know, been ticking the boxes as far as what works for you. And there are other days when it's all going to fall apart and it's just not going to work. So we're talking about what you can do most of the time, and perhaps before you have the baby, you know, writing down some strategies as far as, you know, or things for the fridge as far as when it's just one of those days, you know, as far as having a whole bunch of snacks that you could eat or have on hand or have in the freezer that are just more, you know, so then you don't have to think about it when you're so sleep deprived you can't even think straight. Do you know what I mean? Like having your freezer meals or having all your snack options and that sort of stuff. So for days when that happens, because it's like anything to do with nutrition, is that, you know, if you've got food that's in the house already that's really easy to grab, that's more on the healthy side of things. You know, you're setting yourself up better than if there's a whole bunch of chips in the house, because it's human nature. And if you're tired, you know, your body's going to go for that really high energy type foods, which is fine for that minute, but not necessarily for overall health, which is what we've been talking about. Yeah. So
yeah, it's stuff that's going to sustain you, that's going to fuel you, I guess. You need, and I always say to ladies, you know, they always say, oh, I feel like I'm doing nothing. But it was funny, one of my clients showed me on her Apple Watch, it actually registers your incidental exercise. So that's just your general movement. And oh my goodness, we basically looped around her watch 3 times by the time it was 10 o'clock that morning. And it just shows you, you know, you're busy, you're on the go, you're burning energy, you need that fuel to sustain you as a busy mum. Like, she'd been up since 3 o'clock that morning. So it's like,
that's right.
And as you say, and trying to, you know, I mean, you're not going to be perfect. So yeah, you're going to have some sweet treats and stuff, but just working out that's not going to trigger you and make those blood sugar levels. So so on that note, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Georgia, and also to let everyone know that yes, if you are interested in the Ultimate Pregnant Core program, we open the doors again this month. It's an 8-week program. Georgia has designed a meal plan, recipe and shopping list for every week of the program, which is awesome. And she's also available if you have any questions in our little private Facebook community. At the moment, in free Facebook community called BFAB Squad, we've done a little bit of a recipe takeover, which has been fantastic. So a lot of the ladies in the group have just been jumping in and posting recipes each week, which has been, really inspiring. So, you know, because sometimes you just get in a rut and you don't know what to do. So
we all do.
The more tips in there as well. I just think you can see how other people might shortcut it or manage it, cooking with one hand, especially. And just let us know, Georgia, where the ladies can find you on Facebook or on your website.
Yeah, I'll post some links on the Facebook, on your Facebook page after, so make it easy for everyone. Great.
Awesome. All right. Well, Georgia, and I thank everyone, and just got a little bit of a coughing fit. Thank you. And any questions, post them below as well, guys, and we'll be sure to get back to you.
Great. Thank you. Nice to be here.